Hey folks, John from Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. So today we're going to do an actual new product review, but we're going to see several different products within one video. So I want to make sure that I actually sort of shine a light on the one that actually sent it to me that they wanted me to test, and then show you a couple of new things as well. You're going to get a kick out of this one, guys. Here we go. All right, guys. There's zero doubt that just burnt right into that platform.
So this is, for those who don't know, Stronghold Legends.
Time to make a pie. Here we go. What I wanted to do from the first time I opened up that VIC-20 and started banging out programs. All right, guys, so before we go ahead and get this started, I want to let you know, and this is going to blow your mind. A lot of you guys have been with me since the very beginning, a couple years ago with this channel, and you've seen us grow and get a little bit bigger, and obviously our stage and lighting has improved quite a bit. But one thing I want to tell you is we've never really had what I would consider merchandise. So I want you to look at this shirt. Now, you guys have all seen me wear tons of different gamer shirts, and those things are available anywhere from JCPenney's to ThinkGeek to wherever. They're all over the place. My wife made this one for me, so she wanted me to let you know if anybody out there would like it, and it's a little Pac-Man with a billion little game things in it. We're going to go ahead and have these for sale for $25 in any size you want. So if you need one of these or you'd like one, just drop me an email and I'll have it down here in the link in the description with the size that you want and the color of the base shirt that you'd like, because the Pac-Man will always be yellow. Let me know. Our first one, pretty cool, right? All right, so today here's what we're doing. I had a brand new company that shipped me in two products, and they were kind of random. I didn't expect two from the same company. The first one, and probably the one I'm the most excited about, comes from a company called VTrue, and this is a really cool looking cooling fan, one of the little ice towers. And this we're going to get to install on a new system. Now, given the fact that this looks really cool, we're going to actually go a little bit out on this thing to show, kind of showcase it a little bit. Now, the other thing that this company sent me was actually a power supply from Seagotep. Now, I've actually used Seagotep power supplies before, and I'll show Stumpy that. This is actually an 80 plus gold. Now, it's a 600 watt. I want to let you guys know if you're trying to figure out what size power supply that you need for your system, and granted, this can be all over the place. That's a very loaded question. What video card are you using? What motherboard? What processor? How many amps do you need on your 12-volt rail? What kind of juice is this thing going to pull? Well, there's a video out there that was made by a friend of mine here very recently, as a matter of fact. You guys may have heard of him, The Last Game Hunter. I'm going to drop the link down there. I actually watched this video, and I was impressed. He kind of explains the difference between the power supplies, the voltage, the wattage, how much it's pulling, and what you may or may not need. So it's a pretty cool video. I'll link that down there too. You'll get a kick out of it. But they sent me this 600 watt gold. It is not modular. I know, you guys are looking at me thinking, and once again, he describes that in his video too, but the truth is, I am very partial to modular power supplies because then you're only cabling what you need, and it keeps the inside of your case clean, and we all know that's important to me. So, all right, that's our first two things. So we're gonna go ahead and, I wanted to do this with a little more flair, so we're gonna put in a beast of a motherboard. Now this is the Asus TUF Gaming X570. This is a monster. Now, this will support the latest generation of Ryzen, although we're not going with that processor, just because we're going to cut a little bit of cost here for a client. So, but the board itself is a beast. Built-in Wi-Fi, built-in USB 3.1s. It's got the Type-C connectors. It's got it all. This is a monster. So, this is the board we're going to use in this. We're going to be going with a Ryzen 5 1600, and I've got the processor right over here. Ultimately, I want this to go up to at least a Ryzen 7, but this happens to be the one I have in stock, so that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with 16 gigs of OLOY 2/8 for dual channel RAM. We're going to go with our primary hard drive is actually going to be this 256 gig NVMe drive. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Your primary hard drive in any system either needs to be solid state or NVMe, period. There's no other exception. This is fast. That's what we want to go with on this board. Our secondary drive is going to be a 2 terabyte Seagate FireCuda hybrid drive. Now this is a hybrid mechanical and solid state. I've actually done tests, and in case you guys didn't see it, I built a VR system for the flea market here, and I'll go ahead and throw a link up in the description here if you guys haven't seen that video, that I use this drive. It's been working flawlessly every single weekend, running every day, all day long. So it's been a very good drive. Also in that video, I used it as the primary boot drive. Now we're not going to do it in this one, but I will tell you that it did perform quite a bit well than a standard mechanical, but not quite as good as an NVMe. So yeah, from a primary drive standpoint, I definitely wouldn't do it. Secondary, all for it. So our video card. Now you guys know we're in a video card desert right now. Everybody knows that, all right? I'm gonna go with an Aorus RX 580, which is my video card of choice when you're building a budget gaming machine. And you guys all know this. You've seen me use this 1,000 times. But getting these things for less than $250 these days, it's impossible. It's like they've turned into gold since everybody started Bitcoin mining again. I'm hoping that this shortage with all this human malware will stop, and we'll be able to get back into the real world here, get some good video cards out again. But you combine this with this motherboard, you're going to get a very solid gaming machine. Not to mention, with all of this equipment, you've got a lot of expandability and upgradability anyway. So great card to start. That's what we're going to go with. Now, remember I told you there was going to be one more thing we were going to test at the same time. Check this out. Move this over here. The case, we're going to use a RaidMax Artio. Now, the reason I went with this case, well, there was two reasons actually. Number one, I've never reviewed the thing, and RaidMax rocks. You guys, I don't think I've ever had a bad one. The second reason is it's got a glass side on it, and I really wanted that because of this cooler. I really want to see this thing in action. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to clear off our section here. We'll crack open this case. Let's take a look at what we've got. One more time, guys. Here we go. Cracking her open. So honestly, I've never had a bad RaidMax case. Now, that's not to say there aren't any. I may not have run across them yet, but you guys also know that if I review a case that I don't like, I'll tell you about it. You will definitely get the fleas with the dog on any of my reviews. All right, let's crack this one open and see. Ooh, pretty. Here we go. Now, this is, you know, I would, to call this a mid-tower case is kind of stretching it. It's a very large case, and I'll show you. I wanted it because we were going with that particular motherboard. Boop. But it is, as you can see, a very large case. All right, so take a look at this thing. By the way, in the interim there, you guys might have noticed that Stumpy's tripod changed. Magic, right? No, it wasn't sorcery. It was foam knocking Stumpy off of the counter. Yeah, so watch what you're doing when you're filming, yes. All right. Ooh, look at this, guys. This looks really nice. Look at the front of that case. Nice brushed aluminum look. Got a beautiful, look at this top control panel. Look at this. Very nice. And a glass side. You know, I'm very partial to these glass sides instead of that acrylic because this stuff doesn't scratch, which is really nice. So overall, one thing I do like also is that RaidMax mounts the power supplies at the bottom. And without even looking at this thing, I can guarantee you that it's got one of the enclosures for the power supply in it. Now, you guys probably saw that video where I did the case that did not. It actually just had the power supply exposed to the inside of the computer. I was not a fan of that thing, and I even let you know that in the channel. So yeah, you never know what you're going to get, but in that case, we got exactly what we, what we paid for. So, all right, what we're going to do is, let's crack this open. I want to see what the inside of this looks like while we're here. A good looking case. Yeah, I tell you, old Stumpy is something else, man. She's taken a hit or two in her days, but that was definitely the most solid hit ever. And as you can see, that tripod is not all that good. So we'll be putting another tripod on her this week. All right. All right. All right, so right off the bat, guys, a couple things I really do like, and this is even without going into any further detail. There's the enclosure I was talking about. They do have one included fan, and it looks like it is an LED lit fan with space for two more in here. The depth on the back, guys, you've got a good inch and a half on the back here for cable concealment. That's another really big thing. And it's big enough to hold this full-size board, and that's something else I was really concerned with. I'd say, in my opinion, it's a little taller than a mid-tower, but obviously shorter than a full tower. So kind of in the middle there. So you get a user manual, which we'll put over here. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty basic system. You've got a fan on the front, fan on the back. The one on the back is not LED lit, at least it doesn't appear to be. So, all right, let's get the motherboard prepped up, and then we'll go ahead and get this. I've got to see this cool cooling tower. So let's get this motherboard prepped and see what it looks like. All right, so we're going to prep this board up. Now, for those of you that have never actually seen this, this is one of the best boards there is. Well, in my opinion, there are obviously more expensive boards, the Godlike and so on and so forth, but this is definitely one of the most reliable and high quality boards you can buy without blowing your budget out the window. So, all right, take that out of there. Man, it's got some weight to it, you know? Not like those 320s we're used to using that don't weigh anything at all. All right, so we got our big old novel that comes with this thing. All of our documentation. Woo, very cool decals. That'll go to the new owner. Here's our I/O shield and our SATA cables. And here should be the screws, yes it is, for the NVMe drive. Now a lot of the times they'll actually have these in the holes on the motherboard, and they won't be necessary, but don't lose those, because if you do, they won't be there and then you won't have them. So, all right, let's get rid of this box. Now, whenever I build systems, guys, I always maintain all of the documentation, decals, everything else, and I'll put them in the a static bag that comes with the motherboard and give those to the client. It's a nice touch. Nothing they'll ever use, but it's kind of cool when you open up your new computer and pull out your static bags. Yeah, so. All right, let's get this one prepped up. Yeah, that's a nice looking board. Now, one thing I am very curious about, and see what I was talking about, if you look at the board here, guys, these are the screw holes for the different sizes of NVMe, and as you can see, they are missing. So had you disposed of that, you would now be in trouble. So glad we didn't. All right, let's go ahead and get our processor mounted. Here's our Ryzen 5 1600. There we go. All right, and you know, we're not going to mount our RAM yet until we take a look at this. Let's move this aside. Let's check this thing out. I'm so excited to see what this looks like. And I'm opening it with you guys. So this is the Vitru V5 cooler. Now, I will have links to all this down in the description. These guys were really nice. They sent them up and said, man, you're going to love this if you like those other coolers. So here we go. I've heard that one before, though. Oh, my gosh. All right, hold on, guys. So right off the bat, you get a bag of goodies. This looks like multiple mounting brackets for Intel and AMD. That's pretty cool. Oh, look at this thing. Look at the size of that heatsink, guys. Oh my gosh. That's a big heatsink. I love it. Big old fan that goes with it. Now, it looked like from the picture, yeah, it looks like it is LED lit, so the LEDs must be on the inside there. I don't see anything that's obviously LED, but oh, yeah, obviously it is, because there's your header. So there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and instructions. Let's get this assembled and on the motherboard, and then we'll take the next step. This is going to be so cool. Here we go. All right, guys, so I wanted to pause here for just 1 second. I want to show you. So I've got the fan mounted. Now, this comes with both the brackets for the AMD and the Intel. They look kind of like this. And if you're using the Intel, they actually come with a backplane for your motherboard. Now, as far as the AMD, it actually mounts to the factory backplane that's built onto the board, which is pretty darn cool. And it just screws straight down into it. And I wanted to show you that because you can see the screws do have bottom outs and will bottom out on both sides when you get it perfect. So I'm going to move on to the next step. We're going to get the fan mounted on here after we get the RAM installed. I wanted to make sure that was going to clear. And then we'll move to the next step. Here we go. One other thing I noticed, guys, and I want to show you this. So, as you can see, I've got the fan mounted to the side of this now. It uses these little funky metal clips to put the fan on. Now, I am not, no pun intended, a big fan of these. They do hold pretty tight. As you can see, they clip on here on the side, and they bracket up against this metal and then down into the bottom. In theory, they do give you two, so you could run a secondary fan to go ahead and pull air across this if necessary. You'll notice the way I've got this set up. You're going to have your fan pulling in the cold air from the front of the case, going into here, pulling the cold air across the processor, and then blowing straight out the fan out the back. So getting a nice cool flow straight across this thing, which is what I'm looking for. The inside of these glass cases do tend to get a little warm, so you want a good airflow. Airflow is everything when it comes to PCs. So now that we've got this mounted, as you can see, you've got your power connector on here, as well as you've got your RGB lighting. We're going to go ahead and get the rest of this set up, get the RAM installed in this thing, and then we'll go ahead and see if we can get the board in the case. All right, guys, so let's take a look at this power supply. Now, this is the 600 watt gold Sigotep. I have used this company before, so I am familiar with their products, and I never had any problems with it. Actually, it was pretty solid. In fact, I've got one of our machines here at the flea market has actually been our server forever, running on this power supply for well over 2 years now. So let's crack this one open. And let's see what it's going to look like here. Lots and lots of seals. Gotta love that. All right, here we go. All right, and here we go. All right, I got a little manual here. Anybody ever actually read the manual on a power supply? Pretty dry reading, I would think. Yeah, we're going to put that aside. Oh, look at this, guys. Got a little tag that says open. I wonder where we ought to open it at. Oh, wait. Let's check this in. And as expected, get some zip ties. Get yourself a power cable. And you get a massive bundle of cables. Now, once again, I know there's some people that say it doesn't matter, and they're right, it doesn't. But this is why I prefer modular, because you only plug in what you need. However, functional is more important. We're going to work with that. So let's get rid of this box. Let's take a look at what we got going here. We'll even open where it says open here. Now, it doesn't look like that is an RGB lit fan. It's just a regular old fan. Other than that, it looks pretty standard as far as a power supply goes. 12 volt, 50 amp on the main rail. That's decent. And it does have enough PCI Express slots, or excuse me, power plugs to run any video card I've run into. It's got two 8-pinners, so unless you're running something that runs more than 16 power plugs, you're going to be fine. So let's mount this up in here, and then let's see what it's going to look like in place. All right, so as you can see, we were talking about the ability to conceal cables. And as you can see, we've got a massive concealed area down here with a hole up through the side to get cables through. But this gives us plenty of area to hide them without having to try to cable them in and put them behind creases and everything else. Now, this is critical when you're building a computer and you want it to look good, because remember, cable management is not always about how pretty it is. It's also about airflow. It's about serviceability in the future. And if you want to expand or upgrade, you want it cabled nicely so you know where everything goes, and only remove what you have to and change what you have to whenever you need to get in there. So, yeah, that's important. All right, let's get that power supply mounted. Now, it's funny, as I'm sitting here mounting these screws on this power supply, guys, it occurred to me, power supply is black, CPU cooler's black, RAM's black. Dude, we got a Batman build going here. This is a pretty tight looking machine, and I'm curious to see what it's going to look like with the RGBs on. Now, at some point in the future, we may want to add more RGBs to this, light it up even more, but we'll see how that turns out as we go here. All right, got our power supply mounted now. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and get some of these cables run, get them routed correctly into the back, and then up here into the motherboard for all of your top side USB 3.0, 2.0, and it looks like we've got some audio ports up here, all the basic stuff. So let's get these cabled in, get this in down here correctly, and then we'll get the hard drives mounted. Now, the hard drives, that is one thing I got to tell you, I kind of wish they hadn't done. If you look at this, you've got your solid state mounts here and here. Now, I'm going to have to see if you can mount on the back side or if you have to mount to the front side. I would always prefer to mount where we have easy access to them, but let's see what we've got to work with. Be right back. All right, so one thing, remember what, as I always say on every video, you got to be fluid with these things because things are going to change. One cool thing about the Raid Max, and yet just a little annoying, you've got a beautiful hole right here, and I want Stumpy to see that, to wire up all of your front side connections and your LEDs, right? But to access it, you have to be on top of the power supply. Now, you can do this with the power supply mounted, but you have to like fish it up through the little hole. If you do this before you mount the power supply, it's a whole lot easier. So run these cables up through here before you put your power supply in. And to give you an idea of what I was talking about, guys, look right here. This is that little gap I was telling you about. You can fish up through there, but it's a whole lot easier if you route these cables first and then do it from the backside. It makes it look a whole lot better. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the hard drives mounted, get this all cabled up in the back. We'll be right back, and then we'll be ready to fire her up that close. Hey guys, all right, so one thing I wanted to show you, I had to stop this. So we were talking about the mounting of the solid state drives. Now, the solid state drive mounts on, it can either mount on the inside or the outside. I kind of like it on this side because then all your cabling can be back here. One thing I am noticing though, that's actually kind of important is there is no place with the exception of on the bottom here where you could actually mount a 3.5-inch drive. So if you had a standard mechanical drive, you'd have a hard time mounting it anywhere but right here. And that's a little inconvenient. Now, granted, you could mount it there and then upside down on the bottom, but on the back, there is no mounting for that size of drive. So you can tell this was definitely designed with that in mind, to use solid state drives. So no big deal, just something to be aware of if you get this case. All right, continuing on. All right, guys, so here's what we've got. And I want to see if Stumpy can get a good shot of this, guys. Excuse Stumpy's funky angle. As we said before earlier in the video, Stumpy took a tumble. So we're probably lucky that she's still with us at all, but she is, and she's tough, so that's good. All right, so we got our AORS video card here. We've got our really cool tower here. As you can see, everything is all nice and cabled up tight in here, so we're not having anything loose or flopping around. And spinning around to the back, we've got our power supply. We've got our solid state drive and all of our cabling in for that. We've got everything secured back here. And we still have a ton of room down in here, guys. You can probably see that. There's a massive amount of room down here if you add any other extra cables or anything else you wanted to install. So the case has a ton of room, that's for sure. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna plug this thing in. We're gonna start it up together and see if this thing brings us up a BIOS. Let's see what happens. All right, guys, here we go. We've got it powered up. All of our cables are in. And as Stumpy can see, it looks like the board actually has some RGB lighting that is on even when the client is not on. Pretty cool. Actually, this is only the second time I've used this board in a build, so I'm curious to see what the BIOS looks like. All right, here we go. Firing her up. Ooh. All right, let me move Stumpy around here so you can see that is a really nice looking fan, guys. Look at that. And I can't even see the, oh, and the front's all lit up too. Oh, that is really pretty. All right, oh, and there's our BIOS. All right, let's see here. And we're gonna run our setup and take a look at the BIOS here. Pretty standard UEFI BIOS, not too much to this. Let's get into advanced mode so we can see a little bit about it here. All right, looking good. CPU speed, 3200 megahertz. This is actually, this processor, by the way, incidentally, is a 6-core 3200, as you heard. It's a great processor. It's actually one of the most bulletproof VR processors I've run. That's why I went ahead and went with it in this system. So as you can see, this machine is a beast. And let's take a look at here, CPU configure up. There it is, Ryzen 5 1600 6-core. And move Stumpy over here. And as you can see, we got our Ryzen 5 1600 6-core. And it looks like it is recording all of our RAM. All the temperatures are coming through, chassis speeds, doing good. And it does see our M.2 drive as well as our 2 terabyte drive, so that's good to know. All right, so everything's functioning. Turn Stumpy back around here, and as you can see, it looks really nice. Guys, I gotta tell you, the airflow coming through this thing is insanity. I mean, it is really cranking out air right now, and that is not at its max speed. It's only running right now at about 40% of its max speed. Now, granted, most of the Ryzen processors don't need a great deal of extra cooling. In fact, most of the time, the standard Wraith Spires that come with them are fine. I mean, you're never gonna do anything that's gonna cause any more than that. But this is beautiful. It is incredibly, the airflow on this thing is insane, guys. And given the fact that you're pulling all this heat up through this cooler, and it's gonna be blowing air in from here, which by the way, it's actually funneling up. It's beautiful. Coming straight to here and then blowing straight out the back and then pulling it out here. This is gorgeous. This is wonderful. Great airflow, and I love that RGB lighting. I don't know if you guys are catching this. Let me see if Stumpy can get a shot of that. but it's actually cycling from blue to purple to red to green. Really, really cool. Now, I'm glad I got a glass case for this thing. Definitely. All right, guys, so conclusions. The power supplies, I've used these before. That's why I know that it's solid. I know it functions. I know that they don't go down. They're really, really good. I've never had a problem with one. As far as this CPU cooler, guys, thumbs up. This is gorgeous. It's not super expensive. I'm going to drop a link down here to the Amazon link. It's amazing how inexpensive it is, especially for the quality that you get. You guys know what you can pay for these ice towers. This is a really, really good deal. The case itself, hey man, it's Raid Max. It is what it is. It's wonderful. I do kind of wish that you had the room to put in the 3.5-inch drives, the mechanicals, but hey, let's all face it here. They're dinosaurs. They're going away. Granted, it's still cheaper to get, 3, 4, 5 terabytes out of one of those than it is on a solid state. But hey, the time is coming when those are going to go the way of the dinosaur, and it's all going to be solid state and NVMe in the future. So we all know that. Not to mention whatever comes next, and I'm looking for that too. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This has been a very fun build. I very much enjoyed this, and I definitely dig this cooler. If you want to see this system, by the way, I will have it on display down here at the flea market this weekend. So you're welcome to come down here and take it for a test drive, because we're going to beat this thing up this weekend. Have a fantastic weekend and a great week. If you, by the way, it's freezing down here, so if you're out there, stay warm. I guarantee it. You go outside, you won't. Once again, the shirts. If you want one, drop me a message. I'll put it down there, what size you need, and we'll get one shipped out to you. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.